Welcome back to r/neighbors from hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors. And if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community. And without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. And the first one is titled Cry Havoc and Release the Crows of War. Years ago, when I was just starting out in the world, I got a job as a laborer at a medium-sized machine rental shop in northern Alberta. This was my very first real job, and I put up with a lot of BS because it was $24 an hour for zero experience and zero training. The main source of my discontent came from a man we will call Asshead. AH was a nepotism hire. He married into the company owner's family and was given a job to shut his wife up or something. AH took verbally abusing me, calling me stupid, threatening to fire me, etc. virtually every chance he got. I was getting fed up and close to my breaking point when an opportune chance for revenge presented itself. In this area of northern Alberta, we had a problem with huge crows picking through garbage for food. These birds are massive and ravenous. Early one morning, I was taking out the office trash and I noticed parked close to the dumpsters was AH's brand new penis compensation, a Ford 350 with a lift and a few $1,000s worth of chrome. Bypassing the dumpster, I proceeded to AH's truck and with a heave, I threw 3 bags full of refuse into his box. Within minutes, a veritable swarm developed around their newfound meal. The crows gorged themselves on the trash and once satiated, decided to use this month-old vehicle as a communal toilet. Fly, my pretties, fly. All this happened at 9 AM and AH did not leave the shop until close to 10 hours later. That is 10 hours worth of crow crap to clean off. As much as I was suspected, it never came back to bite me and I eventually quit to go back to school. And by the way guys, I would like to once again reiterate, in case you find any cool stories with crows in it on Reddit or on other websites on the internet, then please let me know either on Reddit or via my business email, which you can find on the About page on my YouTube channel. However, I think you can only see this email if you visit my channel via the PC. Thank you very much in advance, because I'm sure one thing we have all in common is we love crows. And the next one is titled, Want to illegally use a residence parking space? Okay. A bit of background, as a male in my country, Austria, when you finish your compulsory education, you have to complete what is known as Präsenzdienst, which basically means either joining the army for 6 months or doing Zivildienst. Compulsory social service is the best translation I can come up with. This social service might include working for the Red Cross, caring for the elderly or mentally disabled people, basically doing something that benefits society. Having met some people who worked in the army, I bravely decided to do the Zivildienst and was allocated to a hostel for foreign students. It is important to note that Civis, as people in these roles are called, don't make a lot of money. Some of my friends earned about 330 euros a month, which I guess guys is around $450 or $500. I was relatively lucky, making about $600 per month, which in a country with such a high cost of living is laughable. As a result, I was not exactly motivated to go above and beyond the call of duty and was pretty miserable working my ass off for 10 to 12 hours a day. The hostel was located right next to a school that held this big event every year where they showed potential new students the grounds, gave them a bit of a taste of life in their hostels, but this of course always attracted a lot of people with a lot of cars in a town that is not exactly overflowing with parking spaces. The hostel had its own parking spaces, one for each room, with signs stating that the lot was private property and illegally parked cars would be towed without warning. On the day of the event, we even put up an extra large sign stating the same thing, so we did everything we could to stop people from making mistakes. The day the event rolls around, I was told to make sure that no non-residents parked in our lot. I was a bit annoyed by this, as that meant leaving the heated building to tell already irritated and, more often than not, entitled parents to learn how to read signs and please move their cars off of our lot. To make sure they do, I was legally allowed to clamp any illegally parked car and have it towed. Most people cleared off and were apologetic, others tried to argue with my already pissed off self until I threatened them with the clamp. Everything was going okay until a black S-Class Mercedes with plates from a town more than 500 kilometers away made its way onto our lot and parked right in front of my office window. Out got Mr. Mercedes as well as his trophy wife and their 2 seriously obese sons. I thought to myself, oh boy, this is gonna be fun, and went outside to catch before they left the property. The conversation went a little something like this. Excuse me, you cannot park there. This is a private parking lot and I'm going to have to ask you to park somewhere else. Mr. M. What? And who the F are you to tell me what to do? Me? I'm just a CV and I'm not telling you what to do. I'm asking you to obey the law. Haha, a CV. What the F are you gonna do? Run to someone who actually matters to see what he does? Get lost, loser. His boys and his wife started laughing at this point as well. Me? If you don't move the car, I can… Mr. M. Shut the F up. Nobody cares what you have to say. Do whatever you want, you useless waste of money. Okay, tough guy, have it your way. They went off towards the school, I went inside and got the clamp, clamped his wheel and had him towed. It's important to note that we were partners with a towing service that had their HQ about 100 kilometers away. They came back about 2 hours later just as I had handed over the keys to my colleague. I walked out to my own car and from a distance could see Mr. Mercedes' eyes go wide and his head turning red. He immediately ran up to me and started screaming at me about where his car had gone. Mr. Mercedes, where the F is my car, you a-hole? I had it parked right here and now it is gone. Tell me what you have done with it, you little freak. Me, nice to see you again too. I had it towed, which I would have warned you about had you not been such an a-hole. Mr. Mercedes, what? How dare you? You cannot just tow people's cars like this. I will sue the ever-loving crap out of you. Me, you are right. I cannot just have people's cars towed. But I have asked you to leave politely and there are signs at every entrance telling you what will happen if you park here as a non-resident. What I did was perfectly within the law. Also, weren't you the one that told me to do what I wanted? Mr. M, that doesn't matter. Where the hell were we supposed to park? How the hell are we supposed to get home to town XYZ? Me, don't know, don't care. You can call our towing partners, their number is on the no parking signs. If that doesn't satisfy you, you're gonna have to find someone that actually matters. I then went home after asking him repeatedly to step away from me, having to threaten him with calling the police. The next day, our towing partner called me to tell me about this absolute a-hole with the Mercedes they had towed the day before. He had to pay about 300 euros in towing fees, a 600 euro fine for trespassing onto our property, as well as a 300 euro taxi fare. I know this won't have hurt him financially, but it was satisfying nonetheless. And guys, I'm really curious, what is it with some rich people who think simply because they have money, they are allowed to do anything they want? I gotta say, this story was really surprisingly satisfying. The next one is titled, That One Time an Intended Petty Revenge Almost Crash-Landed an Airplane. And guys, a little warning on this story, it is, I would say, slightly offensive, so please keep that in mind. This story belongs to my beautiful wife, but since it is from many decades ago, from a time before we knew each other, we will here call her Classy Flight Attendant. The setup is the following. Classy Flight Attendant is at this time one of the top-tier flight attendants for her country's national airline. Of course, as with any job, you meet all kinds at work. Today's story concerns one particular pilot who we will call Captain Ricardo, Captain Dick for short. Captain Dick likes things the way he likes them. He wants all of the flight attendants in his flight crew to be attractive women. He doesn't think men should be flight attendants. He doesn't think ugly, by his definition, people should be flight attendants. He is not ashamed to mock or ridicule people who he feels have no business in the job. Of course, no matter how Captain Dick wants things, the staffing of the entire airline does not revolve around his wishes. He gets the crew he gets, like it or not. The crime, on the occasion in question, one of the flight attendants assigned to Captain Dick's crew is so spectacularly unattractive to him that he picks up the intercom on the plane while the crew is preparing the flight and asks who thought that she would ever be attractive enough to fly for him. He follows that with all sorts of jeers and name-calling, finally going so far as to order security to physically remove her from the plane. She departs in tears and does not fly with Captain Dick that day. Well, this is just too much. When a number of flight attendants get together later, they discuss Captain Dick. He needs to be reminded how much he relies on his flight crew. They are not there just to please his ego, they serve an important function in the operation of the plane and the airline. Classy flight attendant is there and notes that she will be on a long flight with Captain Dick in a couple days. She knows what needs to be done, but tells the other ladies that the less they know, the better. Now on to the revenge. On the day of that flight, she arrives early and seeks assignment to the cockpit. On long flights on a jumbo jet, there is one flight attendant who attends only to the cabin crew, the pilot, co-pilot and engineer, so that they can focus on successfully executing the flight. As per normal, Captain Dick will only allow an attractive female flight attendant to serve in that function. Classy flight attendant is classy enough for him and is easily accepted. After they have been in the air a while, the cockpit asks for food, which she happily prepares for them. She has a special ingredient for Captain Dick's meal. While she cannot know in advance what the main dish provided today will be, it is known that Captain Dick always wants beans and rice with every meal. And this meal is no exception. She grates chocolate-flavored laxative into Captain Dick's beans and mixes it in. She knows he only needs a dose or two to do the trick, but figures the flavor will be off, so he won't eat much and wants to make sure he gets a dose or two. So in the whole box goes. This is where it all goes wrong. Too much revenge? He notices but does not suspect. He likes the flavor. He even comments while enjoying his meal that it has such a particularly good flavor. Classy flight attendant smiles and then watches in horror as he downs the plate. She had no contingency plan for this. Things don't take long. About 20 minutes later, Captain Dick starts to look a little green around the gills, and then the run to the restroom, and then again, but it doesn't stop. At a certain point he stops running back and forth and remains in the restroom, leaving the flying of the plane to the co-pilot. But now, several hours later, classy flight attendant is getting really worried. She has overplayed her hand. It turns out this co-pilot is not rated to land this plane. There's only one person on board who is, and as they are approaching destination, that person has not left the restroom for an hour or two. If the co-pilot is forced to land, it will easily result in a crash landing or an overshoot of the runway. He will come in too fast and not hit the runway soon enough, plowing through whatever he hits before being able to stop. The plane will be destroyed, people will be injured and possibly killed. People and property on the ground is not safe either. For all she knows, Captain Dick is already dead in the bathroom. She is seriously concerned about all the potential repercussions. The last half hour of the flight is horror compounded with guilt for classy flight attendant. At the key moment, Captain Dick re-emerges and heroically brings the plane in for a successful landing, regardless the damage done to his dignity and the captain's chair. He may have treated his flight crew poorly, but he is a first-rate pilot. Paramedics remove him in a stretcher from the plane before the passengers are disembarked. He spends several days in the hospital recovering. The aftermath: on his return to work he is much more humble and no longer verbally abusive. He is a much better captain to work with. It is unclear if any effort was ever made to investigate the matter. It is suspected that those who may have been charged with such an investigation shared a similarly negative opinion of Captain Dick's previous behavior and felt like he had it coming. The other flight attendants and some of their supervisors have no doubt about what happened, although it was not generally known by them how close the flight had come to being a complete disaster. And Ripe Stars, I would love to hear what you think about this story, because indeed, in my opinion, the person in the story definitely went way too far and endangered the lives of possibly hundreds on the plane. However, then again, it is undeniable that the revenge was also effective, but it simply went too far if you ask me. Please let me know what you think about this story in the comments. And the next one is titled "Steal Our Phones While We Are Surfing. Have Fun Getting Arrested After We Hunt You Down." So this happened like 5 years back, and I'm not really sure if it really applies here, but it is a pretty funny story. Also, I am writing this on mobile, so you know. Basically, my buddy and I got super into surfing in high school and we would go pretty much every day. His mom, rest in peace, would usually drop us off, we would wrap our phones in our shirts, bury them in the sand a bit and place our towels on top. This was the everyday routine. So one day we go surfing in this sketchy area, not so sketchy that we shouldn't have been surfing there, but it would have been way smarter to not bring our phones. Anyway, we kinda screwed up, brought our phones when surfing, and when we got back to shore, the phones were gone. We freaked out for a little while and then asked some people nearby if they saw anything. They said no, but they were nice enough to let us check Find My iPhone as well as call his mom to come pick us up. By the time we checked Find My iPhone, the phones were already about 5 miles away. We called his mom, told her what happened and expected to just go home sad, but no. His mom was seriously a legend. Once she picked us up, she had us quickly log into Find My iPhone on her phone and the pursuit began. We literally drove for maybe 2 hours out of the way until we finally started getting near the guy. The thing is, no matter how close we got, the phone was always on the move. Plus, it is not the most accurate tracker in the world, so it is only within like 500 feet of the phone, so the chase went on forever and we had no idea what car we were following. I don't remember all of the details perfectly, but at some point during the chase, her phone died, so she hauled ass off the freeway, ran like 2 lights and made an illegal U-turn. None of this was that dangerous, like nobody was there, but it was still pretty badass. And quickly pulled up at a 7-Eleven where we bought a car phone charger. The chase continued. We followed the Find My iPhone tracker for maybe 2 or 3 hours total until finally the POS stopped. We pulled up where we assumed was the right stop and it was some random taco shop. We went inside, looked around, but only a couple people were in there and they all looked like they were with family, so we didn't think it was any of them. That is when we went outside and saw some guy sitting at the bus stop with a large duffel bag. We immediately assumed it was him, he looked pretty sketch, so we called the local police and they said they would send a car to our spot. The funniest part of all of this was that the cop was full on like, "Don't approach the guy, just wait." But my buddy's mom, being the goofy person she was, came up with seriously the dumbest plan, but we loved it at the moment, so we went with it. What she did was she casually walked up to the guy and was like, "Hey, I lost my phone. Do you know what time it is?" It was seriously the funniest situation ever. My buddy and I couldn't help but start cracking up. Anyway, the guy was all hostile and just said no, so she came back to the car and we just waited, laughing about what just happened. From that point on, as the guy was waiting for the next bus, he kept looking back at us every couple seconds. It was kinda scary, but overall really funny. A few minutes later, a cop car passed by on the opposite side of the road, turned on its lights and made a quick U-turn driving towards the guy. I kid you not, he got up and frickin' bolted as fast as he could across the street. The cop was in a car though, so he caught him immediately. He handcuffed the guy, brought him over to us and the cop was like, "Do you have these kids' phones?" The guy, acting innocent and pissed, was like, "No, why would I steal these kids' phones?" The cop then opened his duffel bag and wouldn't you know it, out pops our phones. The guy starts rambling that he bought the phones of some random guy and the cop jokingly said something like, "That's some bad luck, maybe don't buy phones from some guy at the beach." He ended up getting arrested and we got our phones back after a 3-hour chase. And guys, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, then please check out my binge watch playlist, which you will see on the left side of your screen, which will entertain you literally for days and probably weeks to come. Listening to that playlist is very much appreciated because it also helps my channel tremendously. In addition, if you still cannot get enough, I would suggest to check out my Patreon at patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more exclusive Reddit videos and early access to my daily content. Thank you so much for your awesome support daily. I am very grateful that you are here every single day. Without you, I would not be able to do this. Thank you so much.